And the Sketch Zone podcast is on the air. I am Carlos Gomez, and this week we're talking to a TV and film music producer, Jake. Where's my bass? Knox.
Where's my bass?
Where's my bass? Middle name.
No trouble. How's it going, Jake?
It's going great. How are you doing?
Cool. Doing good. Doing good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here. And
yeah, so we're going to be talking to Jake about his music and actually what it takes to be a multi-instrumentalist. But before we get to that, let's welcome Charlie B. Williams the Third.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. Nice to see everybody here. Oh, what? What?
Red rum. Red rum.
Thank you, Jack, for that. I feel
Renewing the interest.
I'm creeped out a little more by that. I'm gonna hear that the whole show.
By your black-eyed children storage?
Yeah. We don't talk about the door.
Yeah. The first thing about the door is we don't talk about the door. And Jack Casper.
We totally just skipped Charlie's intro. I pulled a Charlie on Charlie. Took it over. Yes, I'm here.
So welcome, Jack. Welcome, everyone. Welcome world. And while I'm doing our welcomes, we need to go ahead and throw this out there.
Throw it out.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach us on the Sketch Zone hotline. That's 408. How about that, Jake? How about that for some high quality music production?
I love it. I love it. You did it yourself, right?
I feel
Yes.
13 all over.
In my spoons and my big jug. So that's the Sketch Zone hotline at 408-753-8248. That's 408-SKETCH-8. Act now. Operators are waiting.
Or standing by.
Yeah. I don't know if you have a sound effect for this. Happy anniversary, Star Trek.
I bet you I don't.
Like, nope.
I was prepared, and then you screwed me.
Yes.
Oh.
Happy 50th anniversary, Star Trek.
Woo!
So
That's
Captain
pretty cool.
Kirk and all those goofy little youngsters were out there being frisky all about.
Wait, what?
Saying what's up to blue ladies and rock monsters and all kinds of stuff.
Don't hate his hustle.
I'm not. I envy. I have to admit a little bit of something. Lately, when it comes to all of these space movies, I'm a little bit more of a fan of the Star Trek movies than I am the Star Wars movies.
Whoa.
Oof. I gotta go.
It's like, oh, dude's crazy.
This isn't gonna work out.
I'm not gonna lie.
Think I'm breaking up. Click off.
Well, what are the reasons? I gotta hear the reasons.
Dude, he's pissed at you.
Okay, so I'm not even going to get into the fact, like all the Jar Jars and all that stuff. Like Star Wars took a turn. I'm not going to say that it wasn't entertaining, but it wasn't up to the par of Star Wars. And now that they came out with Star Wars, everyone is like, we're back. And I'm like, to the first three. Right? And so I think to myself, if you look at the comparison between Star Trek, where it has been and where it is now, and then compare Star Wars, where it has been, where it went, and where it is now, I'm just a little bit more into the Star Trek. Like the science behind it is better. the acting is so much better. Yeah,
Okay.
I like both, you know.
I do like both. I prefer Star Trek.
But if we look at it objectively,
Because
I do like both.
That's possible.
Can we really say that the acting was better for Star, or is it rehashed of familiar people that we know and love already? Because it's
Wait,
literally
which one?
almost, some of them are literally almost impersonations of the original actors.
Right, because
Yeah.
they're supposed to be the same person.
Yeah, but this is what? So
They're supposed to be the same person. So I would hope that
okay, if that's where you
the
want to go with
people
that.
were the same.
I would take.
All I'm gonna say, all I'm
Like
gonna
I said,
say
I
is
like
go back.
him.
All I'm gonna say is go back and take a look at baby Anakin and take a look at older Anakin, especially when he starts falling in love with Padme and she tells him no, not in my house, and he throws his little tantrum. Meh, meh, meh. That's horrible acting. Horrible acting.
Or is it bad directing?
I don't know.
Or is it bad sound?
Whoa.
Hey-o.
Oh,
Look at that
And we're
segue.
back. That's
Whoa.
professional right there, folks.
No, it's great sound. It's like the best sound of any film.
On that note, on that note, I went for a tour of down here, Star Wars over here. Not Skywalker Ranch, but the actual like the Star Wars. I forget what they call it.
Tatooine.
No, the actual place, and they have the Yoda outside.
Dagobah.
Okay, no, the real place in San Francisco. Moving on, because you guys are planets, and I'm like, no, it's on planet Earth in San Francisco. I don't know.
Oh, Starfleet.
ILM. ILM. I took a tour of ILM.
That is
Or
Starfleet.
no, not even ILM. Whatever.
Skywalker Ranch.
No, I just got
Straight up
ILM.
ILM.
Sure, yeah.
You don't even know. Where were you?
I was where they made the movie.
I like turtles.
Dave Atsy is here.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
He
Where are
lives in
you?
the Dagobah system.
God.
Still tripping on Jack's response. Outer regions.
So I know they're naming planets. I was like, that is, no.
Well, you brought up Yoda. You know.
Stupid.
God, I can't remember. I need a nap, is what it is. Anyway,
You are old.
watch it. So so I had a tour. There's a buddy of mine that works there, and he gave me a tour of the place. And there's this theater towards the front of the building that they take you in, and they show you ILM, and you know they have this really cool sizzle reel with all of that stuff happening. But when you walk into this theater, the theater seals you in. There's absolutely no sound. Yeah, like the door of the theater closes and it literally goes. Shoof.
Yeah, that's like
When you're sitting there, like it's perfect sound. And my buddy was like, "Yeah, this isn't even the good one. Like the good one is on Skywalker Ranch."
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it was.
Just seal off all oxygen for that 20 seconds. That's just real to get that.
It sealed up and the gas started coming out. They're like, "Oh, you think Star Trek is better, huh?"
You come out quoting stuff you never knew you knew.
Yeah.
Nice.
So all that to say, happy anniversary, Star Trek.
Yeah. I like Star Trek.
Let's see what else. Anything? Oh, you know what we can talk about, because I wanted to, and this just so happens to be, we had Jake scheduled already, and it just so happens that Apple announced all kinds of new.
we're going there already, huh? We're going there.
Apple announced a new phone, a new Apple Watch, and all kinds of new wonderful things. and everyone is up in arms because they decided to take out the, what is that, the 3.5 millimeter auxiliary jack.
Yeah.
Skywalker Ranch, folks, on Tatooine.
Dude, that's the Mac sound. Come on, get with it, child.
No, I know. I'm teasing. I'm teasing. God,
Yeah,
I have a story for that
are
too.
people are real pissed about this.
They are upset.
Real pissed.
And I floated the idea to my new friend Jake, and Jake actually had some strong words.
Well, with any Apple product with sound, it's always getting worse.
Uh-oh.
And I think this move is kind of like an unnecessary move. But so pretty much what they're saying is like some sound quality is going to be better. But when you're talking about MP3 compressed files, which Apple is all about, it's not going to make that much of a change, and it's just going to make everyone's life a little bit more difficult, especially since being in the studio, aux cord is like super, super important just for listening to tunes and just the way, we work. I mean, if you just look here in my studio, we've got hella cables, and the aux cord is just so important just because it just for just yeah, exactly.
My music-based podcast, they're like, "Where's the aux cord? I'm gonna have you guys listen to this music, to this song." Yeah, and it's not gonna happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just difficult because you can't just the flow of audio and just the routing is going to be completely changed by this lack of the small millimeter jack. So just as in terms of adapters, it's just going to be just unnecessary purchases, just trying to keep up with the phone. That kind of makes sense.
I have to get this joke out because otherwise it's going to haunt me.
Oh, God.
When he said small millimeter jack, I wanted to take his fist and say, "I was in the pool! I was in the pool!"
Oh, God.
Well, will the one that comes with it, will that help or no? Is this?
Well, that's their argument. I believe they're saying it's going to help with just stereo reproduction, and it's going to help with some sort of quality control. I mean, that's the big thing. Like, we're going to get rid of it, and we're going to switch to the Thunderbolt adapter and use that, and it's going to be better quality. But in the end, you can't really get better quality unless you change file format. So it seems like a pretty unnecessary move to me. But I don't know. I love me some aux cord.
I have a theory. And I don't know if actually, now that we're here, put a little post-it out there. We'll get back to my theory. So Jake, what you're telling me is your iPhone is part of your production line?
Yes, definitely important.
Is it?
Yes, especially for relaying with clients and just pulling up things in the studio quickly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. How does that work?
So say we have.
Are you mixing things in GarageBand?
Oh, I do all my production on my iPhone. This is all a sham.
What? We've got a Apple spy here to do an advertisement.
But yeah, I mean, we use like aux cords, like the same size cord we use in patch bays on our sound systems and on our soundboards. So it's really, really convenient to have that size jack, just being able to plug any device in, whether it's a compressor or a reverb box or a phone that we're just listening to references back. So it's a pretty important part of the studio flow.
That's interesting. I never even thought of that, how a phone could be part of your production process. That's really cool.
Like I said, podcasters the music-based podcasts I listen to, it's like a religious thing, you know. They're like, and they don't have to do any extra work when they're recording their show. It's literally like, all right, guys, we all got new music this week, similar to what we do with the highlights, of artist highlight, They do it with music, and they're like, literally, all just plug in their phone, so they just pass around the auxiliary cord, right, and plug it into their phone and say, okay, guys, listen to this. It's crystal clear. It comes straight through. It's all being recorded. They don't have to have any kind of crazy setup, and it's nice.
But now that you're saying crystal clear, one of the big things that Apple was talking about for this transition is that that Lightning port delivers better sound, and I can see, Jake, where you're coming from. That the normal person, an MP3 is not going to sound anything like if you're playing vinyl or even whatever you would use to record a high quality recording session. But like, so I guess this is my theory. Tidal, for those of you that don't know, Tidal is basically like Pandora or Spotify, that Jay-Z and Kanye West and a bunch of other folks went in on.
Madonna, list goes on, Rihanna.
And so there's a lot of these musical acts that are a part of this thing. And the reason to subscribe to them is that they have the option of these much higher quality sound files. So my theory has always been, that back before Apple came out with Apple Music, there was a lot of people pointing at Apple possibly buying Tidal, and it never happened. And I don't know. Apple keeps trying to do this music streaming service, but they never quite get anything that hits. So maybe they're gonna go buy Tidal.
They're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Because they still get the exclusives with those top artists, that are out right now. Which, I mean, it eventually comes a couple weeks later to other places, but Jay-Z might have made a good enough portfolio over there for them to be lucrative enough to buy them. I wouldn't be surprised.
Would something like that make a little sense, Jake?
It could, just buying, Tidal, which has the uncompressed. I think they're all FLAC files, which is just a little bit larger than the MP3, so the sound quality will be better. I could see them buying it, but still, in my opinion, if you're going from like an MP3 to a FLAC file, just the normal consumer won't really be able to hear that much of a difference. And I personally, there's a difference, but it's not something that you'll notice, especially when you switch to listening to your earbuds through, any device. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But
it's expensive too. That's the only thing. I've been doing the free trial stuff. They let you try it for a month, but that not even hi-fi or the high def subscription. It's like $20 a month or something like that, or something like that. And the normal one is like $10 a month. So it's like, I'm just gonna keep doing that free trial.
Unless Alicia Keys,
different email.
Unless Alicia Keys herself comes to my house and hums me a tune, do I want?
It just seems very expensive.
$20 a month. Holy!
I'm all about SoundCloud and a couple other things. There's just been some exclusives that I kind of wanted to see, or video concepts or something like that I've wanted to see. So I'll humor the free trial. But outside of that, I don't know if I really need to be getting music like that, those quality, for $20 when I can probably subscribe to some other programs or something like that. It'd probably be more worthwhile.
Yeah, And I think Spotify is also going to stay leader in the game of streaming music, even though there's different releases on Tidal and stuff. I just think,
Yeah.
Spotify is hemorrhaging money though. They have never made money. They've done nothing but not waste money, but they continue to hemorrhage cash.
Was that over here, or was that the U.S. version, or
That's the
or
company.
globally? Yeah.
Yeah, just all in general. Yeah.
So I thought they
Yeah,
had success over in Europe before they came over here. Yeah, just thought this market was causing them to spend more money.
yeah, it's tough. I mean, music sales alone are tough to keep track of, but streaming, when you're talking about such little change, like how much does one streaming of a song, how much did that actually cost? It's an impossible, you know, it's ruining the music industry in a certain way because you're taking money away from artists and it's just making it super complicated of where the money flow is, and then also it's impossible to
Correct.
maintain revenue. So, but Spotify gives me a check every once in a while, so I'm okay with that.
So you got a little bit of music out there, son?
Yeah, I got some music out there with a couple of different artists, you know.
Look at you.
So it's cool, you know.
How do you spell that? We have a show title. So let's talk about how you first got into music.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my dad would play guitar to me all the time. He played guitar just as a hobby since he was growing up. And I instantly wanted to learn how to play guitar and music in general. So, you know, the standard story of you learn your Led Zeppelin slowly and then you pick up more and more tunes. And eventually I was just interested in learning more instruments and starting to record because my dad got this 4-track Tascam tape machine that we had in our house. So, you know, I would learn, say, like Black Dog from Led Zeppelin, and then I'd want to go reproduce it onto the tape machine. So eventually I started picking up bass and piano and drums, and before you know it, I was just kind of producing these little songs all on a 4-track machine. So that's kind of how I really started to get into, you know, to loving music and recording music.
So how was it to be 7 and then get busted for copyright infringement?
Well, you know, these things usually didn't leave the basement of my house, so
Yeah.
it was pretty.
What? This is what's on Spotify.
Exactly. All the. I mean, my favorite one that I did Bohemian Rhapsody, and all the
Yep.
parts and all the vocal parts and everything in middle school, and
Whoa.
part of me still wants to put that out into the world because it's awful. I mean, it kind of sounds like it, but I think people would love to hear that awful rendition of a teenager. So, but yeah, everything is just still on the tapes at my parents' house. So
That's awesome. So where are you from originally?
Arlington, Virginia, which is Pentagon, right outside of D.C.
Is DC really big when it comes to music, or?
Yeah. So Washington D.C. was pretty cool, you know, as far as the music scene. So I started picking up jazz when I was about 13, and there was all these jazz clubs in the city. So at about 14 and 15, I started sneaking out of my house to go to these jazz clubs to listen to people play and like sit in at some sessions.
Oh,
So
hang on. I just got a
yeah.
Sketch Zone hotline. Your parents just wrote and said, "What do you mean you skipped out of the house, or you snuck out of the house? You are officially grounded, young man." I don't know. It's
There you go. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Yeah. But you know, these jam sessions would start at, you know, 9:30 and 10, so you'd have to kind of plan your way to get out to them and make up excuses like hanging out at friends' houses or going to see a movie, but really go to these jazz clubs. So I told my parents recently that I used to do all this stuff, and they were they were okay with it. They were like, at least you're not doing drugs, you know, going. But yeah, it was a fun thing.
Anymore.
Yeah, those were the days. No.
So your influence came from jazz?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. Well, when everyone when they start listening to music, they have their acts that they like. I was really big into Blink-182, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Sublime. But my dad told me like, oh, like, jazz players are just better musicians. So I was like, okay, if I can learn jazz, then I'll be like the best punk rock musician in the world.
Nice.
And so then that's kind of why I started jazz, just to be a solid musician. But then now I love it, and it's one of my favorite genres to go back to.
How many bands were you in as a kid?
Oof. There is a couple. There's the first group that I was in, I was playing guitar in it and singing, and there is a girl drummer and a girl bass player, and that was like the very first group that we had. That might have even been, that was probably early middle school. I forget the band name, but it was cool because it was like, me in an all-girl group. It was very rock and roll. But then I picked up another band, which is another trio, and we actually played my bar mitzvah, which was like my first gig, like my first, like, just my band playing.
Let me
It's getting good.
Possibly hurting your feelings. That's not necessarily your first gig. That's cheating. That's cheating.
Yeah, but it was cool. But my favorite part about that was the band name we went by, Two Jews and a Christian, because two Jewish kids and a Christian. It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Who was the lead singer?
Oh, I was. It was awful. I felt bad for all my friends that came to listen to me try and speak Hebrew and then try and sing. It was just a fail.
So good.
So you went from Washington D.C. Did you end up going to school and stuff for music, or did you always just play at home?
Yeah, well, throughout high school and stuff, I just played at home, and I was, my dad taught me, and I was self-taught. But for college, I got scholarship to go to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and that was for jazz guitar. But later, I picked up more a production background, so it was cool.
Yeah,
fun times.
And what did you do after that?
Yeah, so while I was at school, I started, I came in wanting to be this like great jazz guitar player, and then you start to think, oh crap, like there's no money in that. That's like the one thing you can do that everyone will not be on board with. And so I started doing like production and film scoring, in school, and learning how to do these. I would produce artists in school, and that was kind of a big source of income while I was there. And that helped me transition, outside of school to produce different, singer-songwriters and little EPs and all that fun stuff.
So you did all of that. You arranged and you did production, and you're telling people how to sing, or did you just do singing, or did you get into hip hop and rap at all?
Yeah, I got into a little bit of everything. And that was the cool part about Berklee and being in Boston. There's so many musicians that you could just kind of pull from. So I've done, if you name a gig, I've probably recorded or at least played on something like that. I mean, in some pretty interesting situations, like going out to maybe not the best neighborhoods and producing like these different like singers and songwriters, and then also getting to go to random like mansions where there'll just be a guy who's like, I really want to record this song, and then you're in his room with a microphone, and it's awesome. So pretty much any situation that I've been in. But yeah, a lot of hip hop and rap, jazz, pop, country. So
that's pretty wacky.
So
Some random dude is like, yeah, just I'm gonna sing. You make it sound good.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh man.
I feel like being a producer, you're helping people achieve their dreams. Anyone can have a dream, so.
Yeah, look at what's her name? Rebecca Black, was it?
Yeah, there you go. She just came out with a new song, and apparently it's good. I've not listened to it though.
So if you don't know, Rebecca Black was this young teenager from Southern California who the story goes, I don't know how much of this is true, so correct me if I'm wrong. Her dad decided to, as a birthday present, decided to pay for her to make her own music video.
Yeah,
It was
you're
called
right.
Friday, and go to YouTube and search Rebecca Black Friday, and then you're going to see her sitting in a convertible with her friends as they do dolphin sign language.
The flow.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they were really pushing her singing already, and this was just another thing, and it just kind of went viral. So yeah, they paid this production company to do that whole thing. So yeah, they were kind of trying to push her in that direction, and maybe she's grown up and actually can sing.
Yeah.
Or something else. So before she's just like
well,
way
you know
too.
who else? You know who else was like that is man, I go to say her name. She's like one of the biggest country singers out right now. Anyway, moving on. I think she was originally from Texas. Her dad sold, if not the entire farm, but the majority of his farm to get money for this girl and her demo and to produce all this music. And now she's one of the biggest acts out there.
Dad was like, good decision on my part, finally.
What is her name? She has a reputation of dating people and breaking up with them just for the motivation
Taylor
to have
Swift?
You talking about Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Well, she's not country, but yeah, she's pop.
Well, yeah, she's
Kind of was.
she does
Started
do
on
country.
Yeah, I didn't know
okay.
that story. That's cool.
Huh.
T Swift, very
She does
different.
She does country, really?
Yeah.
I
That's
think
like how she started on American Idol.
Yeah. Well, was she on American Idol?
No.
I thought maybe I'm confusing her with somebody else.
No, you're thinking
Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly
that
Clarkson.
other
Well,
no, there's another one, the blonde one that's
yeah, the country one.
Oh, that's the one who started the Underwood.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of.
Carrie, yeah, Carrie.
Carrie Underwood.
I was about to say Claire Underwood, but that's.
House of Cards.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, I feel like in every producer's career, everyone has to do the Rebecca Black thing a little bit, which is just producing whatever you can get just to be producing content. And they were pretty successful with it, though. If you look at some of the music videos when they perform it live, you'll see the producers on the side like, yeah, cheering on, Rebecca Black. And it's because they're making a lot of money off of it still because the royalties. So
Yeah, and hey, there's people out there that you just don't know what's going to hit.
yeah.
What was that little Chinese guy from
American Idol?
saying American Idol? William Hung, exactly. Look at him. You just don't know.
Well, a good one too that I always forget about, but the guy that did this song, Gangnam Style,
Mm-hmm.
he went to Berklee.
What?
This is like a really weird thing. Yeah.
Then he was here and then he left and came right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it just like blew up. But it's I wish we could get a visual. There was a meme of his Berklee student ID, like when he was at Berklee, and yeah, he who knew that
Like
that
he came over, went to school, the whole thing, and then left, went back home, and blew up there. And then when he come back,
he was there. He was doing a lot of anti-American stuff.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh, what?
He wasn't saying death. I don't think he was saying like death to all Americans, but he was bad mouthing America a little bit.
Really? Wow.
yeah.
I didn't
Really?
know that.
Mm-hmm. And then he hit with the Gangnam Style, and that was that. There you go.
Laughing
Yeah.
all the way to the bank.
With his little high ass pants.
Have you seen some of his other videos? You should check out some of his new videos. It's hilarious. He's a total star over there still.
Huh. The
question
what is
is,
wrong with me today?
You
The
get
guy
nervous.
from Baywatch,
David
Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff, huge in Germany, huge.
Yeah. He's a major celebrity over there for some weird reason.
Major talk.
And he sings, and they eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
You're right there.
Crazy talk.
Hasselhoff.
The Hoff.
The Hoff.
David
Yeah.
Crazy talk.
It's just so weird how these
Give me
music,
crazy talk.
but it's weird how these music trends just will blow up in other places, and just sometimes you won't hear a thing about them in the United States. I have a couple friends who are like huge stars in like Thailand, and then they come here and they're like, "Well, I'm the really big deal, but no one knows about it." And that's
They're
about
like-
that.
They're like, who? What? Okay.
Exactly.
That's like Sketch Zone is huge in Australia.
There we go.
I like turtles.
Yes. So before we get to you coming out west,
Yeah.
let's talk about how many instruments you play.
Well, I play over 10 instruments, and this is kind of this is my little bragging thing, but it's not as cool as it sounds. Because a lot of stringed instruments are like the same sort of setup. So once you're able to play one, you can kind of translate it enough to get it, to learn how to play other ones. So, but the list goes guitar, bass, drums, piano, trumpet, violin, viola, cello, upright bass, mandolin, banjo, and then I sing a little bit, and then anything stringed, like I can get enough. Like that's my goal, to own all the stringed instruments.
So you're like, yo, that harp in the corner, bring it over here. Let me show you.
Exactly. Let me play a quick harp. That's my air harp.
Give me 5 minutes. Get this harp out real quick.
Air harps.
Yeah. But it's cool though. My girlfriend hates it, because if there's an instrument out there like a pawn shop, or I see a good deal on something that I don't have, I'd bring it home. There's not a question.
Was it a good deal?
It was
It was only $800, babe. It's normally $5,000.
but I'm gonna use this harp every day, I promise.
Yeah.
It's in the closet.
Now help me carry it.
Help me carry it. They're heavy too. Harps
They're
are
heavy, yeah.
They're too much.
Man, I wanted to play a harp when I was in 3rd grade just because of how big and obnoxious it was. That was totally my sole reasoning.
He's a 3rd grade Jack.
Because I remember our teacher was like, let's go around the room and talk about musical instruments. What does everybody want to play? And I was like, a harp. He was like, what?
You're sent to the principal's office. Get out of here.
Well, I feel like drums is the go-to for kids. I feel like that is the one instrument that every.
Yeah, well, then there's me, I guess.
But I think it's good. I'm just picturing the harp falling over.
Yeah.
And 3rd grade.
Crushing the 3rd grader.
Yeah, exactly. Just. No, it'd be bad.
Or he's amazing at it. He's just like, yo, 15 more weddings and I'll have this thing paid off.
There.
Because this was many, many allowances.
This is.
Jack's like, check out my sweet harp.
The one time I saw a harp and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Do you guys remember if it was I Love Lucy.
Oh yeah, Harpo Marx.
Yeah, when they went to LA and Harpo Marx played
Yeah,
taking
he
us
plays.
the ball game on the harp.
Yeah.
What?
Yes,
I'm not gonna
sir.
lie, that was part of my third grade influence there. I was totally like, I'm gonna learn to play a harp, and I'm gonna be like Harpo Marx.
There it is.
There you go.
Neither of which came true.
No harp or
Did you
Oh.
guys play instruments? For real though? Like high school or anything? Carlos?
No.
I
Jack?
played the piano for a handful of years when I was a kid. And then we were poor. So we had to stop taking
Washboard.
lessons. Yeah. So then we got to play the spoons. No. And so we had to stop taking piano lessons because it was too expensive. And then there was this music teacher came to school and said, whatever instrument you guys want to play, let me know and I'll teach you. And so I took a saxophone class, a single class. I didn't have a saxophone. I didn't have money for saxophone classes. And then my mom got the bill for the saxophone class. And I got a...
No more saxophone class.
We'll just say no more saxophone class.
Nice. What about you, Jack?
I never played anything.
Really?
We had like a keyboard in the house that I would just randomly try to play, but it was never like no official class. I pick up a guitar now, but I would never say that I play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you
don't
can go as
know.
far as saying I have a guitar. That's,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I actually have more than one, so
Ooh.
clearly the intent is there, but
There it is.
What kind of guitars?
one is a Gibson that is pretty nice, and the other one's an old school Epiphone.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I took like 6 or 7 classes on it, so I can do your basic chords, which plays you about 5,000 songs. Not well, but it plays them.
what you do, Jack, is you stand it upright and then you play it like a
A
harp,
harp. There it is.
and your dream will
my-
come
My
true.
dream can be realized. Okay. I'm gonna work on that.
Yeah. All types.
One of the things that I find really interesting with your story, Jake, and Charlie has a very similar outlook in life, is you are very experienced in a lot of different things, right? You're in your earlier email, you said something about jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. But I don't fully believe the second half of that statement. Charlie has a very similar outlook where he likes to play with software. Any kind of software that rolls down the pipeline, he'll play with it for a little while just to get a feel for it. Do you find it in your career that keeping your all these avenues open actually helps?
Yeah, so this is the fun part and the scary part about being a musician in this day and age. So the first problem I encountered was just everyone's doing everything, and so the market's really saturated with musicians. So if you wanted to be, a guitar player in, say, the 70s, the pool of good guitar players, there's a bunch of them, but it wasn't just, you couldn't go on YouTube and just learn how to play guitar like you can today. So that's kind of why I started picking up all of these different, instruments and skills. A lot of it was because I was interested, but also you need to be able to do all of it because the market's changing and you need to be prepared. If someone needs a bass, chances are you're not going to hire a bass player. You're either going to use a sample library or you're going to play the bass yourself. So a lot of my work that I do requires me to kind of learn all these things and have them readily available, which kind of sucks because, I always find myself asking, like, man, like, if I'm learning this new thing, am I quitting on being good at the other things, you know?
Mhm.
And a lot of people, you know, that I went to school with and my colleagues out here, they strongly believe, like, hey, you should just, like, focus on the one thing and, like, just let that take you the rest of the way. And I just kind of ignored it. And now I've gotten to a point where I'm comfortable on all of these things and I'm able to market myself in a certain way where I can be the auxiliary guy that can cover up, you know, these ends of the production if need be. So it is definitely scary to try and do a lot, but so far the payoff's pretty good.
Yeah.
But and I feel too, like, when you're learning to do these things, once you learn one instrument or once you learn one skill, your overall skill just kind of starts to pile up on top of each other, and you're just able to be a musician rather than just being like, oh, I'm just a guitar player. But yeah, it's definitely scary to try and do everything, but the payoff is good. But with the payoff, you have to be super disciplined and tell yourself, hey, if I'm gonna play all these instruments, you know, I really got to treat each instrument like I'm a professional session musician on that instrument. So if I go to practice piano, I have to say, okay, I need to be the best at piano and just be as good as all the other studio pianos or pianists. There you go, in the world right now. So there's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility, but it's definitely, I think in today's day and age, you have to be sort of the wearing a lot of hats. So.
And Jack, in the industry that you're in, what's your pep talk for the artists? Are you on the side of focus, or are you on the side of cast a wide net?
It's that one's tough. I think it's changing rapidly. I think it used to be more friendly to people who were really good at one thing and were masters at a single task, and they were actually sought after. And like Jake said, that, you know, animators or CG artists, and not the 70s obviously, but, you know, early 90s, it's like if you knew anything about CG, they picked you up because there just was there wasn't books on it, and you can just go on YouTube and learn it. So a lot of those folks got in just because they knew a little bit about it, and they kind of by default became jack of all trades. But as time went on and the schools started to build and people got more interested in it, it shied away from that and became specialized, and people found their special, like, I only do this type of animation, or I'm an effects artist, or I'm a compositor, or whatever it may be. And now I think that it's starting to even out a little bit, and I think you can be successful either way, but I think you're more likely to have some longevity and an easier time in kind of a volatile field, because there's so much outsourcing and there's so much downsizing of teams. The studios are constantly trying to rearrange budgets and get away with smaller and smaller teams, that it's beneficial if you can do more than one thing. And it doesn't mean you want to stretch yourself so thin that you're not really good at anything, because obviously nobody wants that. But if you can hit at least 2 different disciplines, you're pretty valuable. If you're hitting 3 and you're still good at it, you're in really good shape.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, Jack. Because, like, just with how my career has gone the last couple years, you know, coming out of school, you become kind of a generalist because you don't really know what you want to do, you know. And then, like, usually I think a
lot of times you don't even know what's out there.
Right, you don't know what's out there. Yep, exactly. And I think some of the benefits of that is that, like, if you take, like, our stories individually, Jack, like, you went into film and then I went into games, but, like, the degree itself was, like, kind of like this was basically the same. So, like, it kind of molds you into where you need to go. So you go that way, but then, like, I've seen so many game artists from either when I was at EA or when I was at High Voltage or other ones or places I'm at now, you just get very complacent. And I just thought that, like, after, you know, layoffs and other things, and seeing other people, like, work somewhere for, like, 10 years and then not really know how to adapt because, you know, like, the software is so different. Or we talk to people now. I talk to people now, like the ones that come on the show or stuff like that, or even people that have worked at bigger companies, and they're like, man, I need to get on that such and such program or whatever. I need to do that because they're so used to. I mean, I think some studios are so used to being set in their ways of like, this is how we do it. This works. We're going to keep doing it like that. And all this new fluctuation of tools and processes and stuff, I think passes some people by. So I think my philosophy has always been to like add tools to your toolkit so that if that problem comes up, then you're able to get through it. Or because I find that I eventually have to learn it anyway on the job, and it's more stressful. So I've just taken a proactive route the last couple of years, just because that makes it. I think it makes it better. I mean, it keeps you fresh. I don't think I ever want to be at a place, even if you're at a place for a long time, and not know what's the newest thing out. Because and you're like, I mean, I've known other people at Blizzard and stuff like that, and other places like that, and like Naughty Dog and other places. They're just these are top tier studios, like cream of the crop, like dream jobs, and like they're like, oh man, I haven't really looked at those new things, or I need to get into that, and maybe it's been 6 years since ZBrush came out, or whatever program. So like I think it's a good pros and cons to it, but more so I think it's more so pros now. You need to like be up on new things, or at least listening and knowing about them, understanding them.
Well, quick question. With music, the recording process is so easily available for all.
Right.
You could be anyone. You could do it in the box. You can like make it happen, and that sort of forces a lot of musicians to do all the parts because the software is there and it's ready for you, and you don't need a big team. As far as gaming, is the software becoming easily accessible and programming for the consumer, where it's easier to make a game, or for Jack easier to film or do animation? Do you guys feel that the market's starting to change and teams are getting smaller? And yeah.
For games, I think it's switched more toward Jack's industry now, where games are plagued by like not necessarily smaller teams, but like the bigger studios are like tight-lipped on who they want to bring on. So it's more so contract-based, right? You're there for 6 months, you're there for 9 months, and while the software is more available and like things like Autodesk and all those other bigger guys have moved to like that subscription-based thing where maybe it's more accessible to that student, or some of the other major software providers are saying, yo, free for students. Here's a totally free version, no watermark. Great. That's great. But at the same time, I don't think the process of making the game is easier. I think it gives a misconception that it's easier, because if you look at Kickstarter and how many failed game projects, I can't stand it because it's very hard. It's easy to make a pretty picture or a beautiful corner or a beautiful hallway, right? But like, let's talk about layout and pacing and story and keeping a player engaged for at least 8 hours, and that's considered a short game. Like that's hard to do still. And like I think, but with the way technology is, everything's available. Or look, there's this new texturing where it makes everything look more realistic, or light, affects things in real time now. Like, but that you get blinders a little bit of all the cool stuff, and then when you get down to making that thing, it's still you and a programmer, and then like 6 months in, it sucks. Let's push through it. Or something works and you just don't know why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a little bit better, but it's still a challenge, I think.
Yeah.
I think technology is making everything a lot easier. But with that, technology gives you enough rope to hang yourself.
Yeah.
So, Photoshop used to be $800, and now it's $50 a month for the entire thing, and you can do everything. You can be a photographer, you can be a videographer, you can make animation, you can do absolutely everything. But the thing is, you have to make it good.
Yeah, it's just a tool. You have to know how to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And everything else, when it comes to games, you're $99 away from being able to develop an app or a game, whatever, for an iPhone or an iPad and putting that out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where just a few years ago, none of that was possible. The overhead just to get in was so incredibly tough, and especially music, because everyone thinks that, everyone sees a rapper out there, and especially these days, they see a rapper, they're not really saying much of anything, so they think that they can do it too.
Mm.
And they can. We can go back to you producing music for some dude in his big huge house, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can do that, but is anyone going to want to consume it?
Yeah.
And that, unless you're doing it for whatever reasons, we can go back to Rebecca Black. She wanted to she thought it would be fun to make a music video. She wasn't sure that it was going to blow up and people were going to make fun of her and stuff like that. She just wanted to do it. Mission accomplished. She had fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that we've gotten into. This podcast is one. Doing different cartoons is one. I made a couple video games. For me, the goal was to create something that gave me the experience that I could then use in my portfolio. Because there's not a lot of people that can do the artwork and the programming and deliver everything, right?
Yeah.
So my couple little goofy games actually built a foundation that eventually got me my next job, and then those people would go back and see my portfolio or whatever I've been up to, and I say, oh yeah, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that. So it all depends on your ultimate goal. And the technology is there. You can do a lot of really cool stuff, but the thing is, you have to keep in mind whatever it is that you're trying to do. And if you're trying to get, a million hits, you need to have something that's worthy of a million hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Agreed.
There you go. Yeah. No, it's always just so interesting to talk about that with people in all sorts of fields, because again, the technology is just starting to be free, and the industry's changing. But,
yeah, and so is the delivery method, because if you think about it, again, I remember being a kid, my dad would take us to the record store, and the guy would reach up and grab the record down from the little rack, and he would put it on the turntable. He'd put a little spray on it, put the little sponge, and clean off all the dust and everything and make sure it was pristine. And then he would gently put the needle on it. And now you don't even have to do that. Now you just listen to a few things, and, apparently Apple just screwed the pooch when it came to earbuds and stuff. So now you don't even get the quality anymore.
Oh yeah.
So the delivery method has completely changed. So anyone can make anything. You don't have these record executives anymore telling you whether or not your stuff is good enough to sell.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people out there that have whose careers came to a screeching halt because they didn't have the right look. And now and that's the good part of all of this, and especially everything being affordable, is if you do have a good sound and people do want what you are creating, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
Because it's all, delivery method is there. The software is there. You can get your hands on the hardware.
Mhm.
People have computers all over the place. You know, I've seen people creating beats with GarageBand that comes free in with your Mac, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the possibilities are there. You just have to make it happen for yourself.
Exactly. One of my favorite GarageBand things that I've seen in a movie actually was, are you guys familiar with Pitch Perfect 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is just a little, mess up that they made, but I thought it was hilarious. So they go into this big studio that's supposed to be like the best studio in town, producing, Snoop Dogg and these hit records. And if you look on the screens of all the computers where people are working, it's just GarageBand. It's like the funniest thing. Like one
Which
single
makes me-
audio track of GarageBand.
Which makes me wonder, did Apple maybe pay a little extra for that,
Probably.
you know?
Ooh, baby. They could have done Logic or something.
Pro Tools.
Pro Tool, something.
Give me something.
But it's just so funny, just listening to, because there's so much more music to listen to, and the content just gets like shoved in your face a lot of the times.
Mhm.
It's funny looking at the pool of music that's coming out, whether it's your Spotify playlist or the Discover Weekly or all these things, and then looking at what's gaining traction. And it's just from talking to like some older cats too, we get in this discussion of like, music isn't like what it used to be, the quality's not there. And when I was younger, I was like, yeah, but like this music's awesome and the quality's like totally there, that doesn't matter. I find myself listening to some music that's coming out on the radio now, turning into that older guy being like, yeah, the quality's not there and the songwriting's not up to snuff. What do you guys feel about like music in this day and age? Like, what's the last contemporary music album that you listen to from start to finish?
Ooh.
None.
No.
What?
None. The 90s ruined it for me as far as albums go,
Yeah.
because people were pushing out so much music so fast that I think that they lost the art of creating that album,
Mhm.
right? You had one or two hits and then you had filler music.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just, back in the day, you used to be able to put a record on and let that go, and then you just enjoy good music after good music, or good song after good song after good song. And then it just got to the point where they're just trying to sell.
I think you still find it though.
Yeah, it's still out there.
It's still out there, man. Like, it's just harder. No, I wouldn't say it's harder. It's just not on the radio at times. Not necessarily top 40.
I don't even listen to radio.
But SoundCloud is amazing for that to me.
Yeah.
I think the last one I did, and like, I mean, I'm a big listener of hip hop, so I have all type of opinions on what's out now that I can't stand. But
I want to hear that.
Actually, I take it back. Probably the last album I maybe listened to from beginning to end was NWA 100 Miles and Running.
There you go.
There you go.
Might have been it. And that's if it.
You old.
Yeah, right. That's a really good album. That is a really good album.
It's a good album. Yeah. No,
yeah.
But yeah, cause like they, I freaking listen to like Hot 97 or whatever, and they always have this Ebro, which is the production manager or whatever over there, always has this like issue with what's out now and holding people to an old Vanguard standard of like you have I'm from the era of like it needs to be a lyricist. You need to have your 16 and it needs to be nice, you know, and then you need to be able to spit off the top of your head, and you know all this stuff. So yeah, but you know, millennials see the music as being different. They see it more as a feeling,
Yeah.
and you vibing on a track, which I can't stand. But like the last album, just to keep it, probably was start to finish. Probably was Chance's mixtape.
Yes.
Which is an anti-album in a sense that it's not necessarily an album, which I love because like he's been signed, or he's not signed yet, and he put out 2 mixtapes, and he might get a Grammy for this one. So like so Chance's last one, start to finish, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of underground people, obviously. J. Cole's album, College Grove, that was start to finish. That was really, really good. But yeah.
Now that you say that, I take 100 miles and running back. I remember B.O.B.'s mixtape, probably 5 years ago. That was really good.
Yeah, there's some ones out there, you know. Still, I mean, I know Carlos is not a fan. I'm still a fan of Kanye's music.
No. I'm a fan of his music.
I think everybody listened to. I think everybody listened to Lemonade all the way through.
Yeah, Lemonade. Yeah. I like the concept. I like the thing of a concept album too. That was kind of cool. Too. I just watched her concept album, like from start to finish, like the visual one.
Yeah.
Too. So that was good, and it's some great like steel framed. Like I have to look up the director of that.
There's more than one. There's several.
There's a section where she's like, it just gets real Creole, and like she has that hat over her eyes, and it's like location that she shot. It's like really good. So that one, I just listened to a new artist. I think she goes by the name of like No Name, Chicago artist. This girl, it's really good. She's very Chance-ish, but a female. But it's really good, start to finish. Kind of like reminiscent of like Kid Sister back in the early 2000s. Has a lot of house in their music. Tiana Taylor's new album, or her last concept mixtape was really good. But now she's starting to get some traction, you know, based off of being in Kanye's Fade video. But she was always a good artist from when she was like, you know, teenager in sneakers, and she's just very New York, Harlem. But so.
No, that's a solid list. I love Chance too. Chance is good stuff.
Yeah, man.
What about you, Jack? What's the album?
Well, my taste's a little different, I guess. I don't.
It's okay.
Let's see.
I actually listened to quite a few albums all the way through. It's not as common as it used to be, for sure, but like both of Phanagram's latest, especially Voices, I did that one a couple of times. I'm a huge fan. He's kind of like lesser known, but I'm a huge fan of Ray LaMontagne, and he has about like 6 albums, and pretty much every single one of them you can listen to. It's really old style with like they kind of build off each other, and they're all placed perfectly in the album. I did like Arctic Monkeys all the way through, but that's like, you know, I don't know about that. I mean, and then like on something like totally random, like Adele is always really good to go all the way through. Her stuff is pretty.
Surprisingly, you find yourself like I've left that on Spotify and like ended up listening to the whole thing, which I was surprised I would. I thought I would get tired of the ballad stuff after 2-3 songs, but
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I think some of this, like we were talking about earlier, I think some of the reason this happened is because of technology. I mean, I think a lot of the reasons, the whole idea behind creating an album that was artistically thought out and planned in a way that you could listen to it was because there was no technology to fast forward. There was no technology to skip to a new song, to mix artists. Like you had this turntable phonograph that you had to put the disc on, and you had to wait. Like it was a pain in the ass to get up and change it. So it's like the whole process of doing that was slave to this technology, which is why they created this kind of story for at least 20 minutes before you got to flip the vinyl. And then as technology progressed and that restriction kind of went away, I think it was only natural to kind of so did the long album format. Now it's like the technology dictates, like I just want what I want now and I want to hear a good mix.
Yeah.
Which I think also comes in with like the evolution of like EDM and like all this kind of mixed stuff that is just kind of an amalgamation of all sorts of like moods and feelings, because that's what the technology allows and dictates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we got a message in from because we couldn't talk about music without hearing from my music encyclopedia, Ryan Brockmeyer.
Oh yeah, I need to sign up for him too.
He says De La Soul's new album
It is good, yeah. Good
and
job.
the Anonymous Nobody is supposed to be really good, or Atmosphere's new one, Fishing Blues.
I haven't checked that one out.
Yeah, De La Soul was an interesting one. That's a good one, Ryan.
I love
Thank you.
everything De La Soul did. Oh,
Well,
the
because
other one?
Yeah.
When
they,
Boyz II Men first came out, I used to listen to theirs from
yeah,
because other grown things were happening.
But I feel like De La Soul's album, like their new one, like you can definitely see 5-6 years ago, I would say. I don't know when they did another, like they started, like it's almost like they found the internet. I don't want to say they did that, but like that's what it felt like, because they found out they started putting stuff out, and you could get on their like mailing list.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're on their mailing list, you'll get updates. So every once in a while I would start to get updates for like De La Soul stuff, and like they put out some other smaller things, but this is their first full-fledged album, not like a mixtape. And they had a couple mixtapes they put out too, where like I wish more older acts would kind of do that, just connect directly with their fans just a little bit more, and like create a newsletter, push that stuff out, because I think it helped them out and like makes them more relevant.
I think especially in hip hop, not that much in even rock or anything like that, but hip hop, there's a ceiling that you reach. It's probably like your mid-20s, late 20s. After that, no one listens to what you have to say anymore.
Nah, I don't agree with that, but yeah, maybe with one hit.
Well, yeah, it's because that's a tough one. Because I feel like there's some cats who stand the test of time in the hip hop world that really can. One of my favorite guys is Q-Tip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all that, just working with anything with like Jay Dilla stuff. I feel like there's quality there. There's a lot of musicianship behind it, and lyrically, it can always hold up. And that stuff you can push well into whatever age you make it to and still do it. Where I feel
my theory behind that is it depends on what you're talking about. If you're down with when it comes to hip hop, if you are delivering what hip hop has always been about, and that's having a good time and doing all that stuff, partying, whatever, hanging out with your friends, la la la, that stands the test of time. Nobody wants to hear you talking about drive-bys and stealing purses and stuff like that, and you're a 40-year-old grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just picturing that now. But the one thing that I keep thinking about as far as musicians that try and keep it relevant, I think the best marketing strategy ever is U2 for just putting their music on your. I'm kidding, but
yeah, well,
I mean, they just literally.
They forced it.
They forced it on it, yeah. And who knows? That might happen with the new iPhone.
You never know.
Maybe you got the new YouTube album coming on there.
Oh, man.
Right.
But I feel like they're really trying to be relevant a little bit too hard, and I see a lot of acts like even I feel like Coldplay's the same way, where you see them sacrifice their musicality or what made them a solid act for staying relevant and being put on the radio. Like Coldplay's recent stuff, I'm not a fan at all. Like anytime an act tries to go into more EDM when they're not. How about taking someone who you listen to when you're trying to chill out and throw them in the middle of a Super Bowl? There you go.
What a train wreck.
That was completely unfair.
Yeah.
Completely unfair. I think maybe they were saving their budget for this year.
And now,
Yeah.
everyone, it's Nora Jones.
I know.
We're bringing out the cots, and
now
everyone can take
the
a nap.
NFL halftime entertainment.
Sarah McLachlan. We're bringing
Dr.
out some sad
Seuss
dogs.
on the loose.
Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
Everyone, at the end of the Super Bowl, everyone's saving puppies.
It's just well, I mean, the Super Bowl music show's just going downhill because it's more about the visual.
They're scared.
Now. They're exactly.
There's so much money. I mean, there's so much risk involved that they're completely scared to do anything
Just scared.
risky or anything. Yeah.
Most of the things are literally mistakes. Or literally, like, it wasn't, like, even the whole Janet Jackson thing, and, you know, when they took it away from MTV, and
Yeah.
they said, okay, we're going to do your mom's favorite artist or your older cousins instead of, like, what's popular. You know, like, come on. It's like, really? It's like, it just didn't make sense. And then now we live in a society where, like, even if they do other stuff, somebody's going to find something wrong with it and think it's anti-Semitic or whatever you want to call it. You know, I never thought I would see after the Super Bowl last year where we had the conversation of what the Black Panther Party was for the next, like, month and a half because they thought Beyonce was trying to
Like push an agenda.
Where literally the whole album was dark like that. And
Right.
Technically wasn't. It was one song that spoke to what's happening currently, and that's about it. That we had this whole dialogue about, and, you know, we can get into a whole other talk about how we choose to change the history and make it sound good for an argument, you know, of what really happened. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you might as well, if you can't have Beyonce on the Super Bowl now, you know, she's like the safest artist you can possibly put up there, you know, in terms of, like, what she likes to put out. Like, I don't think you put anybody unless it's somebody really old and to the point where people really don't care. And they're just waiting for the commercials. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what year was the Rolling Stones were on there? What year was that? That was
right after Janet Jackson, no?
Was it? Yeah.
It was like, we got to go super old.
Because they went. I just remember Mick Jagger's arms just like flapping away. You know, he's clapping. It's yeah.
Yeah. They're like, those old bastards are gonna keep their shirt on, guaranteed.
And now they think they slick. They'll just whoever the safe artist who brings them out. They'll slowly bring someone out. I think one year we had Katy Perry.
Yeah, that was last 2015 or whatever.
Right. And the best part about that, she brought out Missy Elliott.
Yeah, that was the best part.
Because you're like, whoa, she's still alive. Yeah, because she just, well, she had all that, like, she has a autoimmune disease or something like that. So that was like cool. But, like, yeah, it's like we get so scared, you know. I remember when we used to like to watch the Super Bowl halftime show, like, as a kid. Even if it's that young music, they somehow figured out a way to, like, bridge the gap, and then sometimes they'll have, like, an older artist too, which it was like a nice melody where the younger artist would pay homage or whatever. And at one point, didn't we have, like, Michael Jackson one year that was really cool, and he brought out some old and new people, and, like, that was kind of a cool spectacle, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's what Bruno did with the Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then to help save the Coldplay one, he brought out Bruno and Beyonce, and they saved the day.
But then and then when Beyonce did, she did Destiny's Child. So that was kind of cool. Like, it was older. Like,
and then who brought out? Didn't Beyonce bring out Madonna?
Somebody brought out Madonna one year.
Was that the guy that was on the, what do you call it? The trapeze guy? Wasn't that Madonna?
I don't know. I remember her trying to do push-ups. I was like, "Girl, get up, sing. We're not here to watch you do."
That was the one with Nicki Minaj and, like, CeeLo Green. That was all over the place.
Yeah.
I was like, "Girl, get up. We're here to watch you sing, not do aqua aerobics or whatever the hell you're doing."
Aqua aerobics. You know, I'm surprised they never had. Maybe they did. I just can't remember. Besides maybe the MTV medley they would do. I'm surprised they never did, like, Pink had her own, because.
Has she never done it?
I thought she
She's a
hadn't
good one.
done it, but I think she was good because remember she switched and transitioned and like her whole set was more theatrical. She was always hanging by
Yeah, she does those aerial.
by drapes now, where like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for her to like fall one day, you know, like she went from like
She hurt herself doing that.
I bet
Really?
that is only a matter of time
Huh.
when you hang from
She hurt
people's
herself
curtains.
doing that. I think
you
she
know?
was trying to come down and it didn't
Snapped.
let go or something. Yeah, I think she got snatched.
You realize you're living the life of a circus performer, and eventually she's gonna catch up with you. And she's not the smallest person, you know. Not saying she's huge, but like she's a big muscular chick. So like, I always thought, man, what kind of lawsuit or like insurance is she wavering to do that? You know, because she's like literally hanging. So, but I always thought her voice would be kind of a cool one to like carry a tune or note over all that theatrical stuff for a Super Bowl, because she can actually sing really good. I wish I could hear her do more.
So
Well,
while we're on the, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I wish people would sing during the Super Bowl because it's all pre-recorded now.
Right.
Well, everything is pre-recorded.
Everybody goes the whole Britney, you know.
Oh man.
I sound really good in post-production too. While we were talking about theatrics and everything, I wanted to get to the point where, Jake, you made your way out west.
Yeah. So I had a teacher at Berklee who was a mentor, and he straight up, it was the last semester of college, and he said, you got to move to LA, because I was going to stay in Boston for a little bit. I was dating a girl there, and I was going to wait a year. And he said, you have to get out to LA now because you want to be relevant, you know, and you hit the industry because age is a big part of music. And so I think a week later, bought my ticket. Just like, cool, going out to LA. Don't really have anything planned, you know, the standard moving to LA, just, you know, dreams in a suitcase.
So you left this girl sitting at the ice cream shop. She's like, she was melting. The little berry kind of dips to the side and slides down. And you're like, I'm going to LA.
Kind of, except I moved into her brother's apartment.
Wow.
And
roll salt.
it was good. I mean, she's my current girl. She's my girlfriend. She's in the industry.
Way to hang in there, girl. Yeah.
Made it. She's like, guess I gotta follow this dude.
Yeah. Exactly. But then I came out here and I went to I had a connection through this studio called Remote Control, which is Hans Zimmer's film scoring studio. And before coming out to Berklee, I never was that into film. I was mostly, you know, pop production, and I could do like some scoring for ads. But I went in and took an interview with this composer, Henry Jackman. The second day, I was actually missed the first interview because it was a holiday and I didn't know they'd be open. But the second day, I went in, took an interview, and got the job, and was working with his team, which was called Sacred Tiger. And we got in, and that was the first like film stuff that I started to get into. And we're working on Captain America: Winter Soldier at the time, and so it was fun, little quick introduction to film. You know,
you went in quick and deep. Holy crap!
Yeah, and it was cool because, you know, Remote Control's like this big studio, and there's all these huge composers like Hans Zimmer's there. You know, it's awesome. But I wasn't in the know. And I remember the first time that I felt like an idiot, I was just, you know, walking down the hallway, and I see Hans Zimmer walking towards me. And, you know, I'm like, oh, like, he's really big. You know, do I say hello? What do I say? It's his studio. And he smiled, and he said, like, how are you doing? How's everything going? And it was intense. I was like, holy shit, like, Hans Zimmer's, like, talking to me. And I'm like, oh, everything's great. Have a good day. And then I just walked away, but I didn't realize it was his birthday at the time, and like the whole studio was walking on eggshells, just being like, be friendly to Hans. If you see him, say happy birthday, like do all these things. And I totally botched that job. So that was my little introduction to Hans. But other than that, Remote Control was fun, working on, you know, Captain America stuff, which is good.
So because of that, he fired you?
Because of that, he fired me. No, I left a little bit afterwards, though, to do a Nickelodeon show. But But yeah,
cool.
it's like those film scoring environments are pretty rough because there's a lot of composers, a lot of young composers, and the competition is pretty cutthroat. And I loved Remote Control, but it's known for being sort of a tough place to work, just
You
because
can say
everyone.
sweatshop. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it's a little bit of a shit show, and everyone's trying to climb on top of each other. Nobody smiles. I don't think the words "good job" have been used in that studio because everyone's just very vibey. But in a good way because you're creating great content and you want everything to be better and everyone keeps to themselves. But on a social aspect, it was horrible.
What are some of the differences when you're working on a feature film or, like you said, when you're working at Nickelodeon?
Yeah, sleep and hygiene, I think, are the two big things. With
Nickelodeon smell it?
No, I'm saying the Nickelodeon stuff was great. When you're working on a feature and being a composer, this is a tricky part because usually anytime you get to post-production, I'm sure we all know, you're out of time and you're out of money and everyone's agitated. You have the director come to you with the final cut and they're like, we got to get this out now. Like, just score the whole thing, get it all done. Please do it perfectly, and it's intense. So you lose a lot of sleep, and there's a lot of round-the-clock deadlines to get that done. And a lot of the directors, they can be pretty, fickle sometimes and a lot of rewrites, which are fine, but you're working around the clock. And especially when you're recording most of it live instrumentation, when you finish, up to a certain part and they want a completely different style of music, it can take time getting, the musicians together, getting studio time to get that stuff done. So, but it's a rush, which I love, which is the good part. But my girlfriend hates it. But a lot of,
Because you're funky.
because I'm funky,
Well, if you don't go wash your ass.
Well, I remember some of the features that I've worked on. I'd have the team, come in and we would write and work and mix and sleep in the studio for 2 days and just get it out and just really work. But it did start to get a little bit like a frat house. So, but it's fun. It's definitely good. And then with Nickelodeon, with any projects that are the release or work, if you're looking at 2-week turnaround time for most things, and the animation's locked and it's a little bit more organized, you're gonna, because it has to be, because you're producing different shows that need to come on certain deadlines. The organization helps, and so you can really take a step back and 1 week you might finish scoring the whole show, and then the next week it might take you the full 2 weeks, but you're able to time things a little bit better.
Cool.
Which is good.
I have a question for the guys, and then it's going to turn into a question for you, Jake.
I am ready.
When we are creating, or let me set it up like this. When I'm creating, if I'm drawing or anything like that, I'll listen. Well, when I'm programming, I listen to drum and bass.
Cool.
It's incredible how you just wake up and things are done. And then when I'm drawing, I listen to big band music.
Nice.
Charlie and then Jack, do you listen to music while you're creating? And if you do, what kind?
Yes, I listen to music. The kind of music I listen to is, I usually go with instrumental. I can't listen to my normal hip hop or R&B because the way my brain thinks is, I've been programmed to listen to the music, and I can, while multitasking is cool, multitasking while listening to a J. Cole album doesn't really work for me, because I hear the words and I start thinking about the words, and now I've arc rotated around 5 vertices for the last 2 minutes instead of let it go. And there's something with maybe EDM, a little bit of like just instrumental. Like Spotify has a really cool electronic study music, which I really like. If you haven't found that channel, go on the Spotify, and the ESM channel is really good. And they have a couple different ones. But that one is just like, I find a good one, and every once in a while I can listen to a couple of my favorite ones, and I can kind of drown them out in the background. I have to have music like physically, like it has to be like back here in my head, so that all the stuff that I'm working on with whatever program is like, it's like loud, but I hear the music in the background. But with like instrumental music, I'm able to like turn it up nice and loud, and it drowns out the rest of the studio. And I can just hear the music, and then, but like, since there's no words, the only thing I hear in my head is myself with whatever I'm working on, because I kind of think to myself while I'm working on stuff. So yeah, that's me.
Nice.
How about you, Jack?
In general, I kind of tend to prefer the silence, but I don't know. That's, I guess, because I'm like, I guess it just depends on what I'm working on. If it's like really creative, like creating something new image or like writing or something, I generally want silence so that I can be in my head. But if it's a little bit like mechanical or monotonous, like inking a drawing or like something CG or just doing something pretty repetitive, then I definitely like music. And it's almost definitely instrumental, because I will just get lost in lyrics and stuff. I really like film scores. Often, like, if I find a film score that is even somewhat remotely related to what I'm trying to produce, it kind of puts me in the mood, and I'm like, yeah, I can see my character riding on the hill, like Gandalf or whatever. It's kind of like, it kind of gets the juices going.
That's cool. I should try that.
But now I'm curious as to what Jake says, because I don't know how you listen to music while creating music.
I just listened.
What's your and the probably more encompassing question is, what is your process like when you're brainstorming and then actually creating?
Yeah, so depending on what it is, well, everything's pretty much, no, everything's not the same. Depending on what it is, the process changes a little bit. Like if I'm doing a film score and writing, to picture, the goal is to become the director and really get in their head and just really just think like, okay, like this is what Dan thinks, and this is how Dan talks, and this is how Dan talks about the project. So I'm going to turn into Dan, but be musical Dan. So I really just kind of shut off a lot of my personality traits and just let the music kind of just flow out as best it could in the director's mind, which is good, and because it really, being able to play a lot of instruments helps a lot too, because you can instantly access all the sounds and textures you want to do. So you have like an unlimited supply of creative tools, which is good. But then afterwards, coming out of it can be a little bit weird, because you've been in, someone else's head all day and you're really into the picture. So sometimes socially, my girlfriend calls it after scoring freak, which is what I've become. Where I pretty much, need to just kind of sit in silence for a while and kind of become Jake again. So that's for the film scoring side of it. It's really like becoming someone else. And then for the production side, for like pop music and everything, you're becoming, well, what I like to do is like watch, now this might be a little bit cheesy, but I'll watch music videos sort of in the genre, or I'll watch a lot of live performances, and I'll see how the artists that are in similar genres, how they move and how they talk and how they, even interviews, just like really get into their heads that way. But the difference is, when I go to the production side of it, rather than thinking like, okay, I am Jay-Z, let me produce like Jay-Z, I really shut off as much as I shut off completely and just start focusing on just like one instrument at a time and really think about the history of that instrument and where it falls into the genre. So rather than just being a director and like kind of letting it all flow, it's like you're becoming a music historian when producing pop acts and doing the clear representation for it, if that kind of makes sense. And then for my own creative work, if I'm just doing it just to write for me or just to write, different cues or to do an album, I really like to deprive myself of, talking to people, and I don't listen to anything for like the day before, and I really try and get everything out of my head. I'll listen to a lot of talk radio before I go into those writing stages.
Oh, cool.
And I just really just kind of forget that I'm a musician so I can relearn why I like writing, and then I get back into the writing process and I'm able to access these cool parts that, from a creative background rather than a technical background, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
That's a lot like, when you're getting prepared to draw or whatever it is, you're accessing a different tool set. We joke around a lot about getting onto Pinterest to do, your research, and you create your boards and stuff like that. It's a lot like what you're explaining, how you watch music videos and you try to get a good vibe for whoever it is that you're producing for. It's the prep work is very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Which is neat. I was expecting Charlie to chime in on some Pinterest, but
he's sleeping.
Yeah,
No one's sleeping.
I think his microphone is off. He's
No,
on Pinterest.
no.
You didn't.
No. I'm here.
Hey Charlie.
Yeah.
Oh,
No. Pinterest is it speaks for itself this time. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, but it's definitely, the aspect of taking or borrowing things from certain other art forms to like get it. That's a big part of it. And also, one of my favorite things to do too when producing is pick certain musicians that I, if I'm doing, say, like a hip hop track, I'll say, okay, if I could get the whole entire, album musicians from D'Angelo's Voodoo or whatever, have like Questlove and like just these like teams. I'll try and become the team just all in one person, and like so that's another way to do it. Like really pick and choose, like, hey, what would it sound like if Questlove and Miles Davis and then Dee Dee Bridgewater
Had a session.
and Philippe had a session, exactly, had a session together.
Mhm.
And then but while you do that, you really have to get into their minds and sort of act like them. And I don't know if you guys get this, but different musicians, when they play, they have certain faces they make, or like their stank faces. Everyone has their groove, and I'll really start to encompass that. Like when I'm playing drums and I want to have a laid back pocket, and I'm thinking Questlove, I'll move like Questlove. I'll pretend I weigh as much as Questlove does and have that lifestyle. So it's almost acting in a way, but with the musical side of it. So
Man, that sounds. I want to watch.
So what are some of the bigger projects that people may have heard of that you've worked on? You already said Captain America: Winter Soldier.
yeah, and then I did Monsters vs. Aliens, which was a Nickelodeon show, which I co-composed on. And that was a fun experience. I love animated work. It's awesome. It's funny. And it lasted one great season. And sadly, it's no more. Just like a lot of, movie, knockoffs. But anyway, then for a little bit, I was working on the team with this show called Brickleberry. Which was the Daniel Tosh show with Waco Gwynn and I'm totally forgetting Roger something, the other director's name. There you go. And that was probably the weirdest
I was gonna say
experience I've ever, for like going in and doing the dub sessions and stuff, and even the spotting sessions, where they have the artwork that the artists draw, and then they Jack, you know what it's called? The what was it? Not the animations. It's another word. So where it's just like the sketches moving.
Storyboard?
The animatic?
Animatics.
Yeah.
There you go. When they sent the animatics, they didn't edit anything out because on the show they like edit a lot of stuff.
Right.
So if there was, male genitalia in the episode, there'd be like in a weird animatic outline form, just really creepy things. But it's cool. It's fun. I mean, it's switching from like a kid's cartoon to an adult cartoon. You have to work differently, but I'm scarred by some of the things that I saw.
I've seen.
Yeah.
So with that,
Here they come, yo. Here they come. Here they
This or that, this or that, this or that, this or that, this or that.
Jake Knox,
Yeah.
this or that,
Oof.
TV or film?
TV.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that with
Boom.
like Netflix series TV.
You went
like
there.
Subcategory. Yeah.
Right.
Even Netflix even.
I think the Netflix TV or the Netflix episodes, seasons, they're able to take more liberties than many
Mm-hmm.
films and many TV shows. And then also with there's a standard form of a film, and you can really guess what's going to happen. Like the arc of every film is pretty much the same thing. Things change and get more interesting. But with the Netflix series, you can like take some curveballs that won't, really.
Yeah.
And HBO, because Game of Thrones. I mean, like that's, I'm a huge Game of Thrones guy too. But yeah, TV.
Nice.
He's doing good.
Strings or percussion?
Well, depends what type of strings. I'd say cello over percussion, percussion over violin.
He has a hierarchy.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Where does
Guitar.
cowbell fall in?
Oof.
More cowbell.
Cowbell over everything.
He's got a fever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good question.
Electric or acoustic?
Acoustic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Traditional young man right there. Coming from Chicago, not that there's a battle for this, but it's both of these are very popular in the Chicago scene, and it's always interesting to see, not that you've even have visited, but it's always interesting for me to see jazz or blues.
Same thing. Same thing.
Whoa.
Explain this one, young man.
Well, it's all before pop music. There were, obviously there's so many different genres, but if you look at it just like you have jazz and classical, and then you can kind of categorize these things. So improv music versus planned out more traditional music.
Mhm.
So with jazz and blues came, it's improv from like slaves on the field, like doing call and response. That's like where blues started, and it evolves into jazz. So it's like the same thing, because you
Like
can't.
rap and hip hop.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't. There you go. But I mean, it's like jazz is just an extension of the blues. It's just different song forms that change a little bit. If you listen to Charlie Parker, all of his tunes are mostly over blues changes, the standard 12-bar blues, the da 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 da. So it's all, but then they just add a little bit more each time, and then eventually you get into the really out stuff like, like Herbie Hancock. I mean, that's not even that out, but it's all the same. It all comes from the same thing. It's just adding little bells and whistles. But are you blues because Chicago? Is that the?
Dude, wow.
For me, it really depends. So last time I was in Chicago, we went to, there's this place called Green Mill that's notorious for jazz. Al Capone used to go there. They have tunnels under the building, all that really cool, dramatic stuff. And I went to the Green Mill all the time. But then this last time we were there, and they had, the upright bass, and they were really going for boom, 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 and everything. And then I go to say something to my friends that I was visiting, and I was told to shush. And then, so I was done because I can't shush for 20 minutes. I haven't seen my friend. I haven't seen my friend in, I don't know, a while. So, I hang out with my people. I like to talk and we catch up, right?
Yeah.
So then we're like, all right, we pulled up. We go to a blues place.
Mm-hmm.
And the blues place was popping. It was just like everything was just really cool. And they had 2 stages. So one would be playing, the band would be playing on the one stage as the other band was warming up on the second stage. And then if you wanted to see the next band, you would have to get up and move to the next room. And then that way you get refreshed seats, because if you're in the front row of this band, you might be in the back row of the next band, right? And so it's a really cool way of doing. So if you're talking to me in that way, I say blues.
Mm-hmm.
But I really love jazz. I just love I love bands.
Mm-hmm.
I love when you hear the strings and then it's accompanied with, all the wind instruments and everything just blended together. I love that. So yeah, it all depends for me.
Yeah. It sounds like those jazz musicians were kind of.
I got shushed, but yeah.
You should have shushed him back.
Yeah. I looked, I was like, hey, you must be crazy. Anyway, so when we were first, you must not know me.
Well, no, you didn't.
When we were first in the pregame of this show,
Pre-show. Mm-hmm.
pretty much everyone had dinner. Everyone had dinner in their teeth, so I needed to know soup or salad.
Oof. Well, for podcasts, it's got to be soup with a tiny spoon, just to be
A tiny spoon.
Look at you, Mr. Aristocratic.
It's just got to be. But then again,
He's out.
But I am a salad guy. I'm trying to eat more salads.
Why?
Eat your vegetables.
I'm getting the composer body, which is not a body you want to have. It's,
It's a new one, the composer body.
the composer. It's just sort of slouched in the chair over your piano and just kind of puffing out. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
There's a definite developer body too. It runs off of Cheetos and Mountain Dew.
Oh, good combination.
Yeah. Okay. B flat or C sharp?
B flat.
Boom.
Bam.
Wow.
Jazz key. That's the note. That's the coolest note. Sharp is just not happening.
B flat or C sharp?
C sharp is the soup of the music world. B flat is the salad.
That's right. All right. And the last one I have for you.
Jack's dying.
Jack is on the floor.
He lost it on that one.
Jack is literally colors
This is
as
the best.
we speak.
This is the best time. This or that. Jack loses it at least once a show. Hey, we
All
were
right,
doing
so,
pretty good.
The last one. Would you? We were talking wind instruments before.
Yeah.
So would you rather play the harmonica or the kazoo?
Oof.
No brainer, right?
Got to put a lot of thought into this one.
Really?
Well, if you're in the world of just harmonica and kazoo, harmonica's usually the go-to thing, right?
Right.
Like because you're just gonna be a cool blues harmonica player. But I would love to be an awesome blues kazoo player.
Is that even a thing?
I think I could make it. I think I'll make it happen. I think it'll be
No.
awesome.
Yo, was this planned? How do you have that sound effect? You are
Not
amazing.
planned. Not
That was
planned.
good. That was solid, Jack.
You are amazing, Jack.
I got all excited when I heard this question coming on. I'm prepared. Say it. Say it. I was on Team Kazoo, just rooting, waiting. Because if you had picked harmonica, you would have got the same sound effects.
There you go. I'm glad
I want to show you. I want to point out just how much of a finely oiled machine this is. That was not prepared. Jack had no idea I was going to ask that question, and I had no idea he was going to play that.
The better, we have no idea what sound effects.
Yeah, you don't know what's on this board, this soundboard.
Because I feel like he's found the board and he's like literally adding. It's like it's a new Pinterest.
I
He's
do.
adding-
Every week I add stuff.
You need to get soup with a small spoon. That's the one. Next time I'm on, that's what I want to hear.
There'll be some like spoon clanking. Turn into a Foley artist over there and start. I need this sound.
That was absolutely perfect.
That was like, is that a kazoo? It is. we're like on another level. I'm gonna be walking to work tomorrow and listen to this again, and it's gonna just make me laugh when I hear that.
So good.
Good job.
All right, kids. That's all I got for. That's so good. That's all I got for Jake. Does anyone else have any questions for Jake?
See, Jake,
Well,
I have a question.
Yes.
Music-wise, have you listened to any of Donald Glover's stuff?
Yes, of course.
Do you like Because of the Internet? Or do you like this first one? Donald
Well,
Glover is for those of you guys who don't know, comedian / musician.
Childish
And
Gambino.
Childish Gambino, very good writer too. And
Yeah.
also, check out his new. Speaking of, because this goes along with the whole TV pick that he picked in this or that. I always like Effects, that channel. If you guys know, I think it gets underrated a little bit, but I think Effects has some good had some good shows and that still does. But he has a new show on Effects called Atlanta, and he wrote it himself. Now, if you're into Childish Gambino, or what his name is Donald Glover, look at him because he came onto the scene, as a writer. He wrote for 30 Rock and a bunch of other stuff, and like out of college got that big break. But his writing skills on this new show, it's very because he's from Atlanta, it's very kind of off, like quirky in a good way, very hood, but at the same time has his spin of it's a little different. When you watch a show like Stranger Things or one of the other ones, you're like, man, this is just a good one. In the first 5-10 minutes, you're like, this is a good show, or whatever. It's a good show, but I like his music because now he gets choice over music in it too. So I want to get your thoughts on him.
Yeah. I mean, Childish Gambino, I remember listening to him. It's that cool style that's just not. It's like a style, but it's like a non-style. It's sort of the same unique flow that Chance has in a way, where it's not really. It's just Childish Gambino's Childish Gambino, and it sounds. You hear it, you'll
very
say.
Introspective, right?
Yeah.
You talk about music and thinking and getting into a mindset of what is the artist trying to portray for that particular album. I think he does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Either he could be talking about his life or talking about somebody else's life. I know it's a difference between maybe a writer that's actually writing music that also can write screenplays and stuff. But maybe it's a little bit different, but I always always seen there's a difference between like a musician and a musician that can actually write too. You know, it's a little different. You know.
It's definitely. I need to do. Is Atlanta out? It's
So
how deep are they in it?
first came out I think this week. You know, was the first episode. So I think if you look up Atlanta on Facebook, that page, you can watch the whole first. You can watch the first episode for free.
Ooh.
So if you don't have effects, so you can watch it on Facebook. I mean, I did it today. So just look up Atlanta. It's called Atlanta. They have a Facebook page, and then the first out. And then like if you look through all the photos of that Facebook page, it's very for all our art-based community out there. It's very the whole branding of the show. They go with like really interesting gifs, you know, of like stills from the show that like it puts you in this same type of style. Like the whole branding of it's really, really interesting. I don't want to go off a tangent with Gambino, but you know it's
Nice.
pretty. That's another artist I think doesn't get enough, and he's put out EPs instead of a actual album, which we never really talked about too. Like you don't really need an album anymore.
Like the difference between EP and album and
right.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing too. You know.
I'm more. I guess now I'm more EP based too, just because I've worked on more EPs and they're less songs, the better concentrated content.
And for people who don't, what can you just quickly give the difference between an EP album and a mixtape?
Well,
or is there a difference anymore?
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends who you talk to. I mean, like with the album, you have a full-length album, usually going to be around like 10 tracks, and that's just the standard format for most CDs between 70s till today. Well, I guess not today because albums aren't doing so hot today. But then mixtapes, it's more of a mixtapes and EPs are both kind of in the same ballpark for me, where it's like not less thought out, but it's more of like a raw collection of what one artist will put together. So it's more. I mean, if you look at like Kendrick Lamar put out, what was the mixtape, like the unreleased sessions and stuff?
Right.
And that's like more of like the mixtape vibe, where it's not like this big concept album. It's just like, here's just like an assortment of raw stuff that happened during this time period. So that's how I see like a mixtape and an EP. It's like an assortment of stuff that happened during a time period, where an album's more thought out and they go through and pick the best songs over time.
Because I always thought the EP was like more of a concept base. They were trying to go for a certain style or work with a certain person for 5 or 6 tracks.
Yeah.
And then they put them out, and that might change between, rock, hip hop, or whatever other insert pop or whatever. Which I don't really hear EPs as much with pop, but like, I always thought that was very interesting. And then now there's a notion of like a visual album. So like, I don't know if this is a harping that's good. It brings back like the whole genre of the video, like a music video, which I kind of miss. You know, I like the whole video thing and like the whole like it being like very artistic or whatever, and not just a bunch of girls on the screen, but actually like it seems like artists like Kanye or Kendrick or Childish Gambino have put out like Chance have put out like Beyonce put out thoughtful videos, right? That of high like format, Whereas like a visual album is a little bit different, which I'm seeing that trend now. Like everyone wants to do something. I don't know if they're trying to pander to the internet, where because they can put that out.
Yeah.
But
I feel like kids these days, they don't listen to lyric content anymore, because like we said, it's like most of these songs are like more of a feeling, and it's very just kind of cookie cutter produced. So I think in order to get the artistic idea like across, the video is totally necessary. I mean, like Lemonade, like that should say, because you could release all those songs, and then people will be like, oh, I like this song, and then I like this song. But the whole like idea of having it all together and being able to take the journey with it, it's like wicked important. And that's why I like scores too. I mean, like even song score stuff. I really liked the trailers for Walter Mitty, because those songs went well to picture, but then on the album, listening to those songs isolated, I didn't get the same thing from it. So I don't know if it's like the writing's worse, but I think that's where people are moving now, and I think it's a smart move.
Well, I have that same feeling with Lemonade though.
Yeah.
Because I'm not outside of the visual album and then listen to the album like and then obviously music's not for me either, you know. it's more for catered toward women. But like she did have a lot of
all empowered.
No, this is the one critical thing she's had with this one, because like normally it's for empowered, but this I wouldn't even say this album Lemonade's even empowering. It's more of like literally a story, you know, of like finding out she's been cheated on, how she feels, denial, going through the denial, and then toward the end having to reconciling with her significant other, and then the aftermath of that. So whereas like females before, it was all empowered, and it was like, you know, basically man-hating music at one point, you know, the last couple stuff she's done. Whereas this one, are you really picking out one song from Lemonade and be like, yo, I want to hear that? Or are you having to hear the whole thing in succession?
In order to yeah, I see that too.
Yeah.
That argument
is very interesting on like, and then in that case, did the visual album help, or did the visual album hurt the actual album? Because now, if you don't have those visuals,
is it the same effect that you?
It's the same effect. Like, what's like outside of the single? What's another song? What's the name of that song? Like, you know, like.
Yeah.
It's interesting on how it goes, and I mean, not we say we're using Beyonce because she had it at a very high level, but like other people have done these whole visual things, or you know, their videos are their way of doing it, and it might be interesting. You know?
Yeah. That's a good question to think about too. Now I'm thinking about it.
Because I figured, you know, since you're like you compose and do all this stuff, you're on the other side of it. So maybe there's a thing now in the industry of like, this is kind of like what you need to do now to keep people's attention, or I always wonder about that.
I mean, I always think like my dream is to be able to do anything visual, whether it's like film and direct it to my music, to be able to get that side of it, or animate. I wish I could animate, and I know that takes a lot of time and like a huge team and a lot of talent. But if I could, I would put all of my music to visual, and maybe not even storyline visual, but just as far as like having these two art forms collide to create like to get the bigger emotion across.
Yeah.
And I'd rather put someone in that situation where they see both together than give them the individual song and say, hey, listen to this. And the only reason I would do that is because people are so used to getting this content so quickly just flashed in their face that seeing a video, you have to kind of sink in, and you're involved in the art form, and you're involved in the song, and you're like in it. Whereas if you give someone a song now, they'll just like listen to it, be like, cool, that sounded cool, next thing. Whereas I feel if you give someone a song from like the 70s or the 60s, back when, you know, music was still pretty fresh and important, I feel like they'd have a different reaction than they would today. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's your, you know, you're talking about visuals and the audio and mixing them together. What's your stance on something like the Gorillaz?
Yeah, I think the Gorillaz did a great job. I think the idea of having this whole like world created to go with the music, I think that is incredible. And if you look at like their tunes, like, you know, Clint Eastwood, and a lot of their there's these like really hip things that became, for lack of a better term, even hipper because they were with the visuals. And I mean, in my opinion, it's, you know, it all solidified in my brain, and now there's a whole feeling that I get from listening to their music, which, like, I don't think I'd get that feeling if the visuals weren't there, because I'd just be like, oh, like, that's a cool beat.
Right.
I mean, it definitely was cool if you actually experienced it. Did any of you guys ever go to a concert or even seen it? Oh, you know,
I don't know which came out last, if it was Plastic Beach or if B.O.B.'s mixtape came out. If Plastic Beach was after B.O.B.'s mixtape, then Gorilla's Plastic Beach is the last album that I heard / watched from beginning to end, because I think they killed it with that.
Yeah.
And if you go to YouTube, do a search for Gorilla's Plastic Beach and watch. It's like an hour and then some. And it's legit. It's really cool. I am a big fan of what they did, both visually and audibly,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or sonically. Yeah.
I mean, sonically too, they're one of the few artists that don't really care about what, like if they have a hit, they're not gonna like make 10 more songs that sound exactly like that hit. They're
Right.
willing to take a lot of risks. I mean, if you go on to any of their songs or any of their albums, some of the B-side songs are just out of left field and might not necessarily sound good, but I feel like that's so important because that's really just showing just so many emotions within one album, and there's a lot of depth to it. And then plus again with the visual, that's a good artist that I need to bring up more because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the visuals is a big thing. That'd be like one of the things I would like to do. Like even like the concert visuals that they do now, like the studio I'm at now is like very experiential based. So like we just haven't got that kind of gig yet, but you can do like there's a whole movement with like LED lights and like that are like timed to music, that are like in sync with the score and like or like big huge screens. We said YouTube earlier tonight, but they have some crazy like production company behind them when they have their like visuals at this concert, and I think concert visuals it's like a really cool aspect that I didn't know much about it before working at this place. But it's a really big business, that's integrated with real time, and it can be interactive. They could use, game engines and to power like lights and like, all this coding is on top of it, where like things synchronize at the same time. It's like the melding of a bunch of different, artistic genres, and like it's all about the experience. They want the person to feel a certain way with a certain scheme of lighting at a certain point in time that goes along with the music. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's so important. Yeah, the experience of it in the industry.
So we got to talking about visuals and everything, and this is the part of the show where we have an artist spotlight.
Ooh.
And this is basically, we pick someone and then we share our screen and we say, hey, take a look at this artwork. But since you are a music guy,
Yeah.
who is someone that people maybe don't know, but that we should maybe keep an ear out for?
I think Rebecca Black is very important. This is a good question, and I should be prepared for this. Let me think. Just in terms of just like a musician that's just really...
Whoever you heard that maybe mainstream hasn't gotten a hold of yet.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to look at my little Spotify thing and just look at the last things that I listened to, because I know for a fact that is on... The answer lies on the phone. Oh, okay.
Have you heard of Gorillas?
Have you heard of Gorilla? Yeah, this is going to be great. Oh, look. Willie Nelson. You should really get to know Willie Nelson.
I've never heard of him.
God.
Who is this?
Oh, man. I mean, I think so when I grew up, I was listening to a lot of like pop punk and pop punk rock. So one artist that I would say to check out would be this band called the Front Bottoms, which they're like this really cool, they're like a New Jersey band, really low key, and it's very like one type of music, but I think lyrically and just energy-wise for the whole album and all of their songs, it's like a different thing. But I'm not gonna land on the front bottoms though. I think there's got to be some.
You can think about it, and then we'll go around and we'll check in with
let's
you.
go around. All
right, cool. Let me share my screen. Going to present to everyone. So my guy this week is
Nice.
Gabriel Suarez. I'm going to assume his last name is Suarez. So if you go to Instagram.com/Gabriel GABRIEL SOARESZZ. You're going to see a lot of really cool work. And my favorite thing about his work is the texture that he has, that he delivers. I'm a big fan of, and probably because I just don't do it, but I'm a big fan of using Photoshop and making it look like traditional artwork, and yeah, so he's got this Superman flying with his eye. That's dangerous, Superman. Stop it. Superman is flying with his eyes closed. He probably got a bug in there. But yeah, I love his artwork is solid. Ooh, look at Spidey making out with the
What?
He's either Dominican or Puerto Rican or something. Hey, girl. So yeah, his artwork is very cool, and just the texture that he has.
Like Zendaya.
Yeah, it's just really neat. There's Joker and
Miss Quinn.
Yeah, Miss Harley Quinn.
I like that one, Mr. Doug Funny.
Yeah, draws all on the outside.
What's the hero he was? What's his name?
Quail Man.
Quail Man. There it was. Thank you.
Whoa.
So yeah, real quick. It looks like he does a traditional watercolor too. But there he is using Photoshop. Yeah.
He has a Cintiq. Damn it.
And he's celebrating 10,000 followers. He's got
Charlie was the 10,000th one.
10K. Oh, look at this Chucky.
Mr. 10K.
10K. It's Chucky from Rugrats. Very nostalgic.
Simba. After Simba got his dad killed.
Got murked.
Stupid boy.
Sure did.
Whoa, I don't know how I feel about this.
Look at that guy.
That He-Man.
Where's Tyrus when you need him?
He does not feel like he's very heroic right now. The golden backlighting.
Yeah. Hagar the Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
There's Fred Flintstone. So yeah, this guy is sick.
A little bit of depth. It's starting to look a little different here. Yeah, that's nice. Okay.
There's Quail Man. So yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, by the way, bam, nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Watercolored Harley Quinn.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so check him out, Gabriel Suarez.
Good pick, sir.
There's Calvin and Hobbes.
Nice.
Dope.
My favorite comic book growing up. I read all those trade paperbacks.
Yeah, I have all the soft cover books that you find at Barnes and Noble that they would always sell for like $2. And then I ended up buying like the big collection for It was like $250 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Calvin and Hobbes. Looks like he does characters too. Anyway, so yeah, check him out. Oh, there's a this is awesome. This is a self-portrait.
Oh, nice. There he is.
So yeah, check him out.
What dude?
Cool.
Cool.
There you go.
Mr. Jack.
Well, I got a musical one that y'all may have not heard of.
Okay.
I particularly like the two albums, Mojo Priest and Songs from the Crystal Cave. Be sure to check out Steven Seagal.
No. No. No.
No, he didn't.
Be sure to check out.
You are on punishment, sir.
He's so pleased with himself.
That's some of the worst stuff that's out there.
You are.
All right, but for real though.
Are you gonna play it for us?
No, absolutely not. I will not punish. I
You
will
know
not
sound
punish. No, I'm not punishing anyone with that. All right, so for my visual artist, I thought I'd go something a little bit different. Here we go. I picked this pottery guy because,
cool.
yeah, these look like simple pots, nothing special.
Uh-oh.
But then you check it out, and in reality, they're like 2 centimeters tall.
What?
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Dude's like, I'm gonna make small pots.
He's like, I'm on a budget.
And I don't know who of you have used a potter's wheel, but
It's hard.
it's a trick. It's a trick to get used to. And this guy, you know, he's just on the beach with like, I don't know what if this is on the top of like a drill or what.
Yo, this doesn't like the framing of this is throwing me off. If it's so small, like, because it doesn't feel like it's small. It feels like it's like a coffee cup size, but it's not. It's smaller.
No. So here's the guy with the coin.
Oh my god.
So now I want to know his setup, right? Like, what camera zoom does he have that makes it look like it's, you know?
Here's one in color.
Like, does he have crazy like magnifying things on it? He's wearing.
I don't know. He doesn't ever reveal the full setup, but oh wait!
Oh, there it is. There it is.
It's a record player.
That's so tiny.
Yo, is he literally? He's literally out in the wilderness. Too,
Yeah,
like,
he just
yo.
goes out in the middle of nowhere and makes tiny pots. So
He's a
check him
special
out.
wheel.
This is
Yeah.
John Almeida. You can just find him at Almeida Pottery.
Look at the profile picture. Like, did he paint
Yeah.
stuff?
Oh
on
yeah.
too?
So then he's got these. Not only does he make the little pots, he's got the full-on glazes and like special paintwork on them and stuff. And I just think miniatures are cool. There's something kind of fun.
Go back
in
to the gold one.
this bit.
Yeah, what is 22 karat?
I guess he actually did one in gold plated.
What?
So they're like necklaces and stuff. Like where's the market? Where's the market for this?
I don't know that there is a market. I don't know who's buying this stuff.
You
Because
definitely don't have to spend a lot of space storing them.
I mean,
Right?
look at this. What's up with this?
If you have
He
a
made a miniature model of his miniature model machine.
This dude is amazing.
What?
So yeah, just something a little different. Check him out. He's
Almeida
Fun.
Pottery.
the videos are fun to watch. They're just kind of random and
I started following him. You can watch his spinning videos as you're trying to meditate.
yeah.
Does he have music to him?
Friday.
He does have he does have music to him.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
There you go. Almeida Pottery.
So, my artist for this week, which is probably going to be the last week I do a 2D artist. 'Cause I think I've appeased the illustration gods. So next week will probably be more 3D. Um, but this guy is on my list. His name is Sam Spratt. And one of my favorite artists of all time, if you look at my Pinterest page and I have a greats or whatever, greatest of all time or greats, is Norman Rockwell. He's my like inspiration, back all the popular science covers and stuff like that. And this guy breathes Rockwell to me. And I don't say that about too many like artists nowadays, when in reference to who I consider some of the greats. But this guy is like a illustrator. He does album covers, does like movie covers, does just portraits and stuff. But check out this dude's skill. So you could see where I mean by the Rockwell-esque.
Mm-hmm.
So just really good stuff. I mean, even his like this is for it's a hip hop poster or whatever. Very movie like. His Logic is a up and coming, not up and coming. Is a rapper. Is really good. But he even got some political things in there. It's just very good. Bernie, like when you get close, it like it feels like like look at this. It's just very, and his pieces are very nostalgic too. Also, so even though these are album covers and like and art for albums and stuff, or he's done a lot of stuff for Def Jam and stuff like that, it's very like nostalgic. Also, in terms of like movies, and so you can see the original drawing. Once again, he's like blocking it in, starts to build up his colors, and I have there is a place here, there you go, like just showing some of the skill, before the painting stuff, I want to find, and so other reason why I found out about him because he did American Royalty, which is a take on the Rockwell type stuff, right? And he did Gambino, right? So there's Gambino, right? And then he did stuff that's circled around him. Obviously, he's from Atlanta, so he got to Georgia and all the stuff,
That's cool.
around his stuff. But like this whole like piece or bridges of work is like awesome, because then speaks to the time period now, but like a harken to an older style, but it's got a lot of political things in there, and there's some just good feel good stuff. It's this artist this dude's good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, so like check out Sam Spratt. It's Sam Spratt with 2 T's, SAMSPRATT.com. And then this is his royalty.
Also on Instagram.
Yeah.
Sam
First song
Spratt,
on
all one word.
Yep. First song on Instagram. It has some like meaning in some of his stuff too. I would love to hear like his take on some of these ones. 'Cause I know it's got it tells somewhat of a story, and he's trying to get a point across with some of this stuff. But it's really good. It's got a really good style. I thought there was one where it showed his process of coloring. Here's some other stuff. He has some vanity covers. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, check him out.
Wow.
Did some Game Informer covers, magazine covers.
Sam Spratt, 2Ts.com.
Here he is.
All right.
Cool.
Sweet.
All right, Jake. Coming back to you.
Oof. Okay. Well, am I allowed to do like a throwback that people probably might not listen to? Is this
Sure.
loud?
Don't worry, no one listens to this
What are
podcast.
the rules. I need to know. Well, so I just think there's so much good jazz music out there that is just kind of totally passed over, anyone under like 50 that people don't pay attention to. And the one artist that I'm gonna throw back to, which is an older guy, Charles Mingus, bass player. Are you guys familiar with all the good stuff? But really, this album, let me just double check that I'm getting it right. Blues and Roots. It's like, have you guys heard Blues and Roots?
I have not.
This is worth
No.
checking out. Cool. So one thing that I always find myself, you asked about the jazz versus blues, which one is better, or and this question always gets brought up, between musicians, which is like, all right, well, I like jazz, but it's not like raw. It's like very technical. There's a lot of technical ability there, but it's a little bit boring. This album, Blues and Roots, is just one of the most raw mix of jazz and blues, and just all of Charles Mingus's whole life is just this like really sort of just most human primal story that like I've ever heard with musicians. He's just like one of my favorite guys, but it's really, really worth taking a listen to. And just as far as music having emotion and feeling, this is probably as deep as it gets in terms of just this primal, not primal rage sort of stuff, but music-wise, just with really getting into a lot of emotions that music doesn't convey on a normal basis. It really goes into deeper parts of your soul. So
Awesome.
yeah, I know it's not an artist, but
That's
No,
good.
no, that's fine.
cool.
That's perfect. So that, my friends, is it for us. I'm just trying to make sure that there's a few things that I want to make sure that we talk about before we go.
Cool.
But that is Jake Knox.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Jake, if people are looking for you and your work and your resume and all that good stuff, where can they find it?
My website is jake-knox.com. And then all of my social media handles are at Jake Knox Music. And I am going to start putting out more stuff. And that's just, if you want to find any of my stuff, the film scoring stuff, the production stuff, or my original music, it's all there. SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, everything. Not MySpace, though. I gave that up. So, yeah.
Yeah, talk about something no one ever hears about anymore. Charlie B. Williams.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me at my website, which is cargocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams. You can find me on Facebook at artist page Charlie BW3, Twitter CBW3, Instagram is Charlie BW3, Pinterest is Charlie BW3. Check it out. Get it in your life.
Excellent. And Jack Kasperzak.
I'm at sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Cool. And I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com or under the name Coconut Justice if you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or Behance. This has been the Sketch Zone podcast. You can go to sketch.zone and find all of our fancy footwork there, all of our episodes. You can suggest a guest if you go to sketch.zone/guest. And if you're on Twitter, you can find us under @sketchzone. You can go to facebook.com/thesketchzone and youtube.com/sketchzone podcast. And you can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And as always, if you leave us a little message on iTunes, we will read it on the show. And while we're on that topic, I wanted to give a little shout out to one of our newest friends, Ann Whitman. She sent us a little message this week, and it says, and it goes a little something like this. Hey guys, thank you for Sketch Zone. Your podcast kept me company this summer after a foot surgery locked me to my couch.
Wow.
I pass the time sketching and listening to Sketch Zone. So now, at the end of the summer, I filled 2 small sketchbooks, and I think I've listened to just about all your episodes. The good
Nice.
thing is she stayed up. We didn't bore her to tears, or she's healing fine. And she goes, "Thank you for the entertainment and the time you put into Sketch Zone. It made my summer much more productive than just devouring Netflix. I look forward to all future episodes. Regards, Anne."
Oh, thanks,
So that's
Ann.
our new friend Anne. And I went ahead and I took a look at I followed up with her a couple times, and she let me know that on Instagram she is Rarely Rabbits. So that's Instagram.com/Rarely Rabbits.
Rarely Rabbits.
She's somewhere in California. But yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Oh, look at that! Wow, she's got all her sketches up there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, link me. Link me.
So that's what it's all about right there, folks.
That's why we do this.
Yeah, that's exactly why. We like to break people's feet. No.
Force them to listen.
Wait, what?
Yeah. You walk around, break people's feet, and no, you will listen to this. No, that's for me. That makes it all worth it, because there is a lot of work that goes into doing this. And if it helps you guys, that's why we do it. And those little thank you notes are payment enough for me. With that being said, I think we are done here, kids. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Cool.
All right, guys. See
Everyone
you.
have a wonderful. Thanks again, everyone, for being here, and thanks again, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Ah.